degrees. Myosin, I don't love you anymore, Armin.
How you doing?
Yeah. When I'm in my low energy 45 state, I got no more love for Armand. But you know who I do love? Stephen. Stephen's my ATP. Right? Okay? Does it make you uncomfortable, Stephen? No. Okay.
For science,
I don't want to offend anybody. Okay. So, like a hot potato, I'd drop Armand. I ain't going to call him anymore. Right? Because at this shape right here, I like ATP. All I'm saying is that at 45 degrees, I'll say it in the biological way. At 45 degrees, myosin has a higher affinity for ATP than it does for actin. Because of competition, what's it want to bind to? The thing it's got the higher affinity for. Right? So what's it going to bind to? Well, is there ATP in the cytoplasm of the cell? Yeah, in fact, there's got to be a lot of it in muscle cells. So what's it going to do? It's going to drop actin and bind ATP. Right?
So it's like hungry and it needs energy?
Kind of, yeah. So let's put that on there, here. Oh, I'm going to keep it at 45, right here. And we've let go of, the actin here, right? They're still exposed, so we'll still assume that calcium's present, right? So we don't have the troponin, tropomyosin in the way. So we'll assume that it's still exposed. But in this situation right here, what we want to bind is, we want to bind ATP. Okay, there. The other way to think about it is, and it's true, myosin can really only bind tightly to one thing at a time. It's either going to bind tightly to actin or it's going to bind tightly to ATP, and it depends on the affinities, right? It has a higher affinity for actin at 90 degrees, so it will bind myosin and not ATP. It has a higher affinity for ATP at 45, so it will bind ATP instead of actin. You okay with that? Yes?
So where is its ideal state? Right there where it's binding?
What do you mean by ideal?
Okay, so if it wants to be in a state of low energy,
Yes.
but if there's ATP around, it'll bind to ATP and stay at a 45-degree angle unattached to actin? Is that kind of its ideal state?
No.
No.
Because of this. That would be true if this were the end of the story. Myosin also has, not only does it swivel, not only can it bind to two different things, ATP or actin, it also has ATPase catalytic capabilities. What did it say? It can do this. It catalyzes this reaction.
Mamma mia. Yay! Finally something looks familiar.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. So here's why it doesn't stay there, is because as soon as it gets there, it breaks down ATP and releases energy. Now, what's the fate of the energy that gets released here? The fate of the energy is to, I'm going to use these words, okay? Recock. The analogy is like a hammer on a pistol or something, right? You pull it back and you hold it in this high energy state, ready to work. Okay? So here we're going to cock that myosin head back to that 90 degree. So we break down ATP. So now what's stuck on here is ADP and PI, right? We broke down ATP, we recocked, and by that we meant we went from 45 degrees to 90 degrees. You with me? And that's where we started, and that's the ideal state, right here. And what's it going to do again? Armand, I love you again. Right? What's it going to do? Hey, see you later, right? This goes away. What's it got a greater attraction to now? Actin binds to actin, we keep cycling back and forth. Now that will occur as long as two things happen. One, as long as there's calcium, because calcium lets us do contraction, and as long as there is ATP. You okay with that? Is that okay? What happens when I remove the calcium? The tropomyosin covers this up, and where does this stop? Where? Armand breaks up. Right here. Somebody's keeping me from my favorite one. Right? Something's in the way. What is in the way? Tropomyosin. That troponin tropomyosin. So there's my tropomyosin. There. Here's the troponin that's on top of it here. Is there calcium anywhere in here? No, because we're relaxed. But what do we do when we put calcium in? Calcium comes in. Calcium binds to troponin. Troponin changes shape, pulls on tropomyosin, exposes Armand. We get in trouble if we do any of that. Exposes the myosin binding sites on actin, myosin binds to actin, power stroke. And as long as we still have calcium and we still have ATP, keeps going, muscle generates more and more and more and more tension. Okay with that? Until what? Say don't contract anymore, get rid of the calcium, troponin changes shape, puts the tropomyosin back in the way, we stop right here. Ready to go as soon as calcium is present.